Hello and welcome to the final episode of the Cooldown podcast. Can you believe it? My name's Ewan.
And my name's Javier. Let's unwind before your next game. How are you feeling? Final podcast ever.
I honestly can't believe it. It feels like we've been working on this for months and we're finally here. But we're not alone.
We are not alone today, but who have we got, Ewan?
I believe we have someone very special from the development world and all the way over in the States. Can you believe it?
It's unbelievable. Well, I had the pleasure of interviewing this person many months ago for our magazine, which will be coming out soon. She is a software developer, a coding prodigy. Prodigy.
Wow.
She has developed her own successful app that has been downloaded 400,000 times.
My God.
Unbelievable, right? All the way from Madison, Wisconsin, we have got Isabelle Santin on the show. How are you today, Isabelle? For people who don't know who you are, can you give a little bit of background about yourself, please?
Yeah, hi. My name is Isabelle Santin. I live in Madison, Wisconsin, and I run my very own software company named Chosen Few Software. And basically, we develop anything and everything from games to productivity software to software analog video emulators is also something that we're in the business of making. And we have a focus on open source and unique projects that promote happiness and well-being in the world, essentially.
That's amazing.
Awesome. And what do you love about game development? What keeps your sort of passion growing? Why do you keep doing it?
Well, because it's fun and it's the business of making software fun, right? And I think that that's like really special.
Absolutely. 100% is. And, you know, gaming is a special industry. So getting to the fact that 400,000 people played what you produced, how did that make you feel? Like, how was that to know that your project and your sort of passion was shared by others?
It's mind-boggling because I sometimes come across people that I meet in my, like, just personal circle. They're strangers, but I, like, talk to them about my game, and they're like, oh, yeah, I played that. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy that at that scale of consumption that actually happens. Like, you can meet people out in the world that actually use your app without even meeting you.
That's amazing. And how old were you exactly when you first developed this game? Because if I remember, you were still quite young, right?
Correct. That was in 2017. I was born in 2003. Do the math. I was 14 years old.
14.
Wow. 14 developing a game developed by played by 400,000 people.
Bearing in mind, she made it by herself. 400,000 downloads. Like, that's 14. Unreal. 14 years old. That's unbelievable, right? What made it blow up then? Like, did you advertise it? What were you doing?
So it was the pandemic that actually made it blow up, just like everyone else's app. But it's just the market exploded during the pandemic, and there was just so many eyeballs on these application distribution platforms like Google Play and the App Store. And unfortunately, I still don't have an iOS version of Super Patrick, but I am working on that. And so it could have been even bigger had it been for that, you know?
And what is the difference, kind of, if Apple or iOS hasn't sort of launched yet? What's the difference between programming for that and for Google Play? Like, is there a difference?
Yeah, because with Apple, they're very strict, aren't they?
Correct. There is a difference. The main thing is cost, really, because you have to pay a yearly fee to even participate on their development platform. But at the same time, you actually need to get locked into their ecosystem they only allow you to compile games for iOS on macOS platforms. And so it requires you to have either legitimately acquired Apple hardware that is capable of building these games, or you set up a Hackintosh, which is what I did.
Oh my gosh. And you also mentioned about game emulation, and with Apple allowing game emulation and how big it's getting, where do you think the future of game emulation will head?
I think it's a primarily preservative technology, right? it's all about, for me, emulation is all about game preservation. And so I think that's why it exists. It's to preserve these wonderful, at times legendary experiences that can be shared with future generations if we maintain the software required to actually run these games.
No, it's true.
Like Pokemon.
Like Pokemon, yeah. We recently, obviously, legally, we've been playing Delta Emulator. Have you had the chance to be playing that yet, Isabelle? Or heard about it?
No, I haven't. What's it all about?
So, Delta Emulators, officially, did you ever hear about GBA for iOS? It was essentially like a Game Boy emulator, DS emulator that allowed you to play DS games all the way from N64. And Apple was always against it until, obviously, the new laws came in, EU laws. And now...
So was it the law that forced them to change their stance on that?
Yeah, essentially, so that they can compete with like Android users and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So it's game changing. They're trying to get Folium, which is a 3DS emulator, trying to get that onto Apple now. Because before it was always Android, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's all game changing. It seems emulation's getting obviously more awareness than it should now. Yeah.
It, as you said, it's preservative, isn't it? Which is really important, especially for kind of like DS games. For me, that was a lot of my childhood. So to be able to go back and play them again now, it's such a nice nostalgia trip without having to break out my now admittedly busted up DS.
It's not just that, it's really hard to get like Pokemon Platinum, Pokemon Soul Silver. They all go for like £80.
Yeah, super expensive.
And then 3DSs are getting jailbroken now because they're so hard to get hold of because they shut down the 3DS store. It's ridiculous, right? Have you ever had the chance to do emulation on your phone then, Isabelle?
Never on my phone, but back in the day I did have excuse me, an NVIDIA Shield K1 tablet.
Okay.
Which, if the keen among you might actually recognize that as the predecessor to the Nintendo Switch.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes. So it was a fully open platform, an Android tablet meant for gaming, and it was very cheap, very competitive, and that's what I actually developed my first mobile games on, was that tablet, including Super Patrick.
That's awesome. So that holds a real close space in your heart then.
For sure, yeah. And so I do recall playing emulated games on that as well, using the little HDMI adapter that I had connected to the TV and stuff. It was really neat.
That's interesting, to be fair. And also, because you're such a big software developer as well, you're also a big trans advocate. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, for sure. So, as a trans advocate in my community, I volunteer for the Madison Area Transgender Association,
That's amazing.
which organizes events for trans people in my area. And so this includes stuff such as the Trans Joy event, which we just had this May, as well as the Trans Care Package drive that happens over the holidays.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Now, we've spoken before, right? How did you use Discord by any chance? Because I thought this was really interesting, right? You used Discord as a way of communication, right?
Yeah, so I actually helped this organization set up their own Discord server that I now moderate with a few other volunteers. And people have just been able to just like organize more community-based events and just like hang out together more because of this Discord server.
That's amazing. And it's crazy how like these, gaming developed apps can spread so much awareness just in one go. Do you think gaming is the way to go now for all this?
I think gaming is a big part of the way that people connect online these days, And so I think it's really important, especially for marginalized communities, to connect in these ways that allow us to share experiences and have fun together online.
That's amazing. And also, you've mentioned there's a lot of issues within the communities, right? Like, obviously, the IT industry being real male-dominated. Do you think there needs to be more work to be done?
There is always work to be done in a patriarchal system, right?
Yes.
And so I find that many trans women in the IT field, including myself, are treated selectively as male when it benefits others and as female when it benefits others, right? So it's kind of a double jeopardy there where we're treated like men when we don't want to be, and also treated like know-it-all like women when we don't want to be, right? And so it's a
horrible.
very layered and complicated experience.
And how does that make you feel to have that sort of thing affecting your work life?
So the thing is, it actually doesn't affect me personally, apart from my external business relationships, because at Chosen Few Software, I've actually worked very hard to foster a culture that is open and affirming to transgender people.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's another transgender member of our team. Her name is Polly. You might have met her before.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's wonderful. I like to call her my alter ego, and she really is great at like coming up with all the gotchas, like all the things that I never think of as a developer. She thinks of when she's testing my software, and also just bouncing ideas off of me like, hey, have you thought of this? And I'm like, no, I haven't. That's amazing. And so a lot of features that make it into our products today actually originated as Polly just sending me a DM like, hey, you should do this. And I'm like, yeah, I should.
Now, how did you and Polly meet? Because I know Polly personally. She's from the United Kingdom, right, in England. How was it because of gaming? Was it because of Discord servers? How did you two meet?
It was because of the TT Games modding community. So
awesome.
very much through a gaming experience, yes.
That's amazing. So TT modding experience, how did that happen exactly? Because that's Lego games, right?
Love a good Lego.
Correct, yes. So I was actually a prominent YouTuber on the Lego Star Wars 1 modding scene.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so she was interested in contacting me about a potential cheat that she wanted to make for a very specific level in Lego Star Wars 2, which shares an engine with Lego Star Wars 1. And so she found Linturni Gamer's server, my other friend, who you also interviewed. And she was redirected to my server from there. And we just kind of really hit it off on a lot of things. We just connected instantaneously, and we really flourished from there.
I love that.
Love that.
And kind of like, again, that's Discord's bringing people together. It's almost side by side in its importance in connecting people. What's your favorite Lego game?
Definitely Lego Star Wars, the video game, the first one.
Nice.
Ooh,
Nice.
Original. I wasn't a big fan of the Skywalker saga, the latest. Have you had the chance to play that?
I played that one. It's not my favorite either.
Oh, no. I feel like it's lost its touch.
Yeah, they've
We talked about
changed
this
the
a lot.
formula. I like the classic 4 hearts in the top and, you know, a roster of characters to unlock that I could then go around in free play with. That was what I loved about Lego games.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to ask you something, alright? It's about obviously becoming trans and everything like that. Was that pretty hard, like growing up? And because that's sort of like what you want to represent Chosen Few Software, right?
Correct. So I feel like my brand didn't really, it lacked purpose and identity before I came out as trans. And really, it was the moment that everything kind of clicked for me that I realized that this is who I am, that's when I decided to come out. It was all very sudden from an external perspective, but internally, I've had questions about my gender since I was very young. Even my earliest memories, I have memories of thinking like, what would it be like to be a girl in this situation? Right?
Yeah.
And that's not a normal thought for a boy to have, right?
Yeah, of course. But no, it's really special what you've gone through and then how you've used it and embraced it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think many people could do that. And I feel like this is what we look at Cooldown. We look at people like you to tackle these problems, you know, embrace it. And I love what you're doing right now. You got to keep it up.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I really appreciate
So
that.
how big is the team at Chosen Few Software?
It is 5 strong at the moment.
Nice.
Our latest member hopped on just recently in the last month or so, and he is our writing advocate. And
awesome.
so, yeah, basically he champions the pen and paper for us and writes our blog posts, writes our messaging and stuff for like big branding things, you know.
Oh, that's amazing. And so how did you contact this person?
Through the same community as Polly, actually.
Oh, really? So just
Discord's really
Discord's the way to
connecting
go.
everyone. That's been the continuous
Right,
thing.
yeah.
throughout
Forget
each
LinkedIn,
podcast.
forget Indeed.
Yeah, honestly, get on
Discord
Discord.
is where you should go. That's amazing.
For sure.
And obviously, as the developer, you've probably seen the state of the industry at the moment. There's a lot of studio closures. There's job layoffs, which is obviously awful. What advice would you have for those who've lost their jobs, people who are struggling and want to continue working in, game development?
The thing is, the tools are all out there right now, and most of them are free for personal use. So I say, why sit around and wallow when you can keep creating and make something potentially big, right? It doesn't have to make money. It doesn't have to be a huge success, but you just got to keep making, because that's what drives the industry forward, is innovation.
Absolutely. That's a great piece of advice. I think you've just got to, in terrible situations, you've just got to try and push yourself forward, don't you? And when you've got purpose and something to work on, I always find that helps me to try and get out of a rut that I'm in.
Yeah, because at the moment with Overheat, our website brand, we're in 9 to 5 trying to get as much socials out, as many stories. We're doing the YouTube, we're doing the podcasts, and it's all about trying to, show how much you put in, because the work you get out is just so much worth it, isn't it?
You also don't think. I think when you're that busy and you're busy doing things, you don't think about how you feel. Like you just kind of go to work, come back, eat food, and then have an hour to chill, so you don't have time to kind of reflect, which I guess is helpful when you're going through something.
It's nice with open, fresh eyes. You look back and you think, you know what, we've done a good job. And I feel like when I look at something like Chosen Few Software, I've looked through their website, they got new games coming out, new software, obviously now doing emulation. It's brilliant, honestly.
And one of the big things that developers might face is burnout. I think if you push too hard, obviously it's important, as we was just saying, to stay and have a purpose. But ultimately, if that becomes your life, how do you kind of avoid burnout, Isabelle?
So avoiding burnout is actually a pretty complicated topic because it's unique for all of us, because it involves that work-life balance, right? And so I typically work with my therapist and my other support systems, like my family, my friends, and I confide in them about what I'm working on, what I'm going through, and I'm constantly self-reflecting as well, just measuring myself. Like, am I putting too much effort into this for what it's worth versus how much time I'm spending taking care of myself, right? Because obviously I gotta eat, I gotta sleep, and I have relationships to maintain. I have a girlfriend now.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that's a huge commitment. And thank you. So it's a lot of work to just maintain this work-life social balance, and it looks different for all of us.
I understand that, but is Chosen Few Software, is that your main job, or is it just a hobby phase right now?
So it's kind of in this really middle ground in terms of, is it a hobby, is it a job? Because I do have a Patreon page, I do have an income, but it's not an income large enough that I would have to report taxes on it, we'll say.
Yeah.
And Patreon's great for kind of getting income off the ground, isn't it? And how important is that sort of contribution from your community to you?
At the moment, it serves as a really nice extra bonus allowance.
That's brilliant. And I was gonna say, what are the future plans for Chosen Few Software? Like, are you looking to expand any new future games or development?
For sure. So on the horizons for us is Save version 2. That's the
Okay.
software analog video emulator. We're probably gonna have to delay that because I'm the sole developer, of course, and I'm going through a lot this summer, and
Yeah.
so I'm probably gonna have to put that by the wayside for now. But also coming up for Chosen Few Software is Be Looped, that
Be Looped.
marble game that you may have seen on our website,
I've seen
where basically you play as, it's kind of like a Marble Blast clone. If you've ever played Marble Blast, it's where you roll around as a ball and like it's 3D. There's a lot of platforms and you go from start of the level to the end of the level.
I
And
love that.
so Be Looped is basically that, except the level loops on itself infinitely. And it's a multiplayer battle royale to collect as many gems as possible. That's
That's
basically what the game is.
And is this the first game by which you are not the only developer working on the game?
I believe that would be Super Patrick for us because my
okay.
dad did help work on the back end for that.
Oh,
But-
understand.
I do have Polly willing to help me with level design and stuff for that game as well. So
And Isabelle, do you still play video games to like relax and sort of continue that conversation about work-life balance? Can you still unwind through playing video games?
for sure. Definitely not by playing my games because I always find issues that stress me out, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
I gotta fix this. But anytime that I'm like just like sitting down in my room, I mean, I got my PS5 behind me right now.
Nice.
Ooh.
You can kind of see it by my thumb.
I
And
love
so,
that.
yeah, I play that to kind of wind down and relax. I love playing Devil May Cry. I love
Nice.
playing. There's this game called Red Out 2.
Okay.
That's a really nice racing game.
How is it?
How is your studio
Oh, how is
name
your studio
chosen?
name Chosen Few Software? Where did you come up with that name?
Yeah, so it actually originates from the way that I was developing Super Patrick. My brother Eli was helping me test the game over the shoulder as I was developing it in Unreal Engine. And so I would make a change, and then he would play it with a controller plugged into my little dinky laptop at the time, connected to my TV in my room. Same room, actually. And we would just develop the game that way. And that's where we kind of got the name, like, we're the chosen few, aren't we? Right? Like, like, kind of like, it, in retrospect, it was kind of like random and like very childlike in that moment to like think that thought, but it stuck, you know.
No?
Sometimes that happens, doesn't it? It just things stick. That kind of happened with Overheat as well. We just kind of were throwing other ideas out there, and we're like, nothing sounds as good as
No,
Overheat.
our
and-
lecturers were like, you have to change that name. It doesn't associate with gaming. And we're thinking, what about Sony? What about
Yeah,
Apple?
yeah.
We're our own brand,
Right.
and we're overheating the competition, as we say.
So we
Oh,
know
yeah.
how that feels.
Of course.
All right, I think we're going to our second question now, which is: have you enlisted any additional help to do Super Patrick or your next projects?
That is correct. Polly actually helped me design all of the levels for the Super Levels pack in Super Patrick. That's the
Awesome.
one that's locked behind the in-app purchase. And my dad, he's a senior developer here in Madison at True Stage. He helped me develop the backend, the authentication backend for the Chosen Few Software Connect feature that we use to this day to host Super Patrick's multiplayer.
Ah, awesome. So working in that kind of team environment, how is that when you're kind of taking the lead and this is your baby effectively, but you're getting other people to help you with it? How is that for you?
It's a lot of consulting and a lot of like, oh, maybe like nudge that a little bit, or maybe do it this way instead of that way. So it's not so much as micromanaging as it is leading by example, right? And that's what I like to really emphasize in everything that I do. I'm a leader by nature, and so everything that I do, everything that I am, I want to lead in that example and own it, right? And
Yeah.
so being able to own it like that has really helped me to embrace my true self, my true authentic self, and be really successful in this way.
That's amazing.
Love that.
Now, shall we have one or two more questions, shall we say?
I will put it down to Timothy. Should we have
Tim,
one or two more questions?
One or
What do you
two
think?
more questions. So this is Timothy, everyone.
Hello.
Sit down, Tim. Get in the camera.
So, just one question. How do we raise awareness to LGBTQ issues in the gaming community? Because, like, as I'm also part of like the community, I feel like there could be a lot of discrimination. So, what do you think?
That's an amazing
sure.
question. Tim, come back.
I definitely think that pushing against that discrimination, that stigma, in a way that's loud and proud, definitely the way to go. Because the only way to get people to see that there's no shame in the way that you are is to be shameless and live shamelessly in that.
That's amazing. No, thank you so much. Great question, Tim.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Timothy,
sure.
for all of your hard work in making sure that we.
Are there any more questions, Tim, or is that it for today? A lot of questions. Well, because it's the last episode,
Yeah,
should we do two more questions?
Yeah, two more questions. Pick out some good
questions.
ones. You've clearly encouraged discussion, which is great. That's what we love here on Cooldown. So thank you very much, Isabelle.
No problem.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, go on.
So, somebody asked, what do you think about using generative AI to do creation? Will it be beneficial?
Ooh, good question.
Definitely not. That's like kind of like, so imagine replacing actual real artists with a heart and soul with a machine that is trained off the backs of those artists, right?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. Like, from a moral perspective, that's just dirty and wrong. I would never do that.
Yeah, we talked about this on our podcast last Tuesday.
Our last podcast episode as well, we had a visual arts developer come on and discuss this topic, and she was saying how she's all against it, and if you were to purchase a game which was 100% AI, would you actually play it?
And we both said no, didn't we?
We both said no. What are your thoughts on
no.
that? The whole AI taking over the software gaming industry?
The thing is, AI is just a bubble. It's a like buzzword, really, that billionaires pull out of their pocket to build up hype and get investors, right? The thing is, they're claiming to have invented a one-size-fits-all hammer, the hammer that fixes everything, right? We all know that that hammer doesn't exist and can't exist. AI is a tool, and if used in the right ways, it can have utility, but it's not going to fix every problem. And that's what billionaires right now are claiming that it is capable of, and it's simply not there yet and can never be as a technology.
For sure. Great question, though.
That's a really
Right,
good
next one,
question.
Timothy.
Tim's back.
So, if you can change, add, or modify anything in the Lego Star Wars game, what would you make the modification?
Okay, so fact is that with as much research as I've done on Lego Star Wars 1 and Lego Star Wars 2, I pretty much can change anything I want in the game, given the opportunity and time and energy, right?
Yeah.
And so the one thing that I really want to see, like, someone make, probably me at some point in the future, is basically combine Lego Star Wars 1 and Lego Star Wars 2 into one game, into one cohesive experience, but still using the old engine, because they actually changed a lot of other things, like in the complete saga, that a lot of the people in the community don't like between the first two entries and its own release. And so I'd really like to just make like kind of like a remastered version of Lego Star Wars 1 and 2 that are just kind of like combined together.
Love that. And what you said earlier, in classic Emperor Palpatine terms, you technically have unlimited power.
Do it.
Unlimited power.
Oh my god.
Yeah, one more
One
final
more
question.
final
Here we go.
question,
Go on,
Tim.
Timothy.
So, what do you think about representation in games? I assume it means LGBTQ representation in games. Will it be something that you incorporate inside games, or is it something that you value a lot in your software, basically?
I definitely think that I do want to see more expression of LGBTQ ideals and characters and all that in video games. That's great because it normalizes who we are, right? But at the same time, I do think that it's important not to shoehorn those characters into the experience, right?
For sure.
They should be
of course.
participants in that experience in a way that's natural and in a way that works for that piece, right?
Absolutely.
No, absolutely.
I think I was speaking to my flatmate who's part of the LGBTQ plus community, and we were talking about this exactly that, and how sometimes games companies feels like they include gay characters just to say that they've done it, and that feels like a disservice to that community. It should be really meaningful stories and part of their personality, but not all of their personality, which can sometimes come through. And he said he really is excited for more games to kind of really explore these issues in depth and kind of let sexuality be, special and really showcase those characters. Is that something that you're excited to see as well?
Yeah, for sure. Always, especially with trans folks as well. We don't see enough trans people in games.
It's true.
Excuse me. And so I'd love to see that in the future.
Absolutely.
So just want to chime in that I have a friend who's also trans, and she's studying computer science in Finland. And hopefully, maybe one day she'll work with you on like designing new games. I think that would be a really nice future possibility.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Love that.
Well,
That does about do it for our final episode. Thank you so much for joining us, Isabelle. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on with us.
Woohoo!
no, I think Tim should come over as
Was a
well.
blast.
I think we couldn't have done this without Timothy Tone here, our podcast producer. He's been the technical side behind the camera. Anything you would like to say, Tim?
Yeah.
I really enjoy producing the podcast with both of you. But I mean, we have a lot of issues, like, but then hopefully it's not too jarring as sometimes. But yeah, been a great pleasure.
No, thank you.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you, Javier.
Yeah, thank
Been
you.
great
Been a
host,
pleasure.
Timothy. And thank you most of all for you for watching. We've loved being able to produce this content for you. Make sure you check out the website. Our magazine launches tomorrow, at probably very late into the afternoon, but check that out. You can hear more from Isabelle there. And we're very proud of everything that we've done. I'm very proud of these guys and all the effort they've put in.
Likewise. We've also got our Quarry final episode coming out tomorrow, so please look forward to that. We've got a 12-episode playlist coming out soon.
There will be a full, complete playlist if you want to watch us play the Quarry. We're not great at it, but it's funny content anyway. But yeah, we will let you go enjoy the rest of your evenings or days, wherever you are. And it has been lovely sharing this time with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye, guys.
you.
Enjoy. See you later,
Bye.
guys. See ya. Thank you. Bye.